everybody, welcome back to another Blind Tuesdays. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. I am a little bit exhausted today. Just had a very busy day today. Did a lot of things. My back is like kind of not in the best shape right now, uh, so thankfully I'm off work for the next few days, so I'll have time to recuperate, get some energy back, and also to produce some content that I've been meaning to do. Um, seeing as today is Tuesday, or when this video gets released, it'll be Tuesday. We're doing another Blind Tuesdays, and as we spun spun the meal. Oh my god! As we spun the wheel last week, um, we landed on the 90s, and the 90s has a huge variety to choose from. Lots of great films. 90s was a very solid time for film. Um, I would argue that the 70s might be better just by overall quality, but the 90s definitely stacks up when it comes to content. And there's a lot to choose from. And I was going to go with Pulp Fiction for a hot minute. I really love Pulp Fiction, but it's a film that I would also need to revisit because there's stuff from it that I'm a little fuzzy on, specifically Bruce Willis's part. So I adore the screenplay of that movie, and I can talk about that for make a whole video about that. Um, but with it being 90s, I thought, you know what? Let's just make this simple today. I'm just going to talk about my favorite film of all time. That film being Forrest Gump, which was released in 1994, directed by Robert Zemeckis, screenplay by Eric Roth, of course, starring Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump, um, as well as Robin Wright as Janae, Garen Schneis, Lieutenant Dan, who actually would go off to be part of the U.S. military, if I'm not mistaken. He would become I think he would, right? Let me just look into this real quick, because I know he after that he like went off to do it, went off to do like some stuff. Yeah, he got involved in a lot of World War documentaries. He's still working as an actor apparently. Um, but I know he had his relations to the military got very. Um, yeah, he's a supporter of a lot of veteran organizations and founded the Lieutenant Dan band. So yeah, he's very involved with humanitarian work, it seems. So and charitable organizations and stuff like that. But focusing squarely on Forrest Gump, though, um, Forrest Gump tells the story of a guy named Forrest Gump, detailing his many adventures throughout his years, and the years specifically from 1956 to 1981. So he's, and the film takes this as a takes this person as a way to express life throughout this specific time frame. So we get to see stuff from the Vietnam War. We get to see stuff from uh, the, I think it was the Black Panthers, Black Panther Party. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that Forrest Gump's journey is packaged with, and Forrest's uh, recounting of those events are quite simplistic. And simplistic is the word we'll use for Forrest Gump because it is it is highlighted that Forrest Gump's um, uh, intellect is that of simplicity, and through life he is just a wanderer. Ultimately, he just appears in these moments, these big moments in American history, uh, versus, making a point to do this and this and that. He just moves through life. And while moving through life, he develops this love for Janae at a very young age, and of course keeps this throughout his journey, throughout the many years, an on and off sort of thing. And ultimately, what the movie accounts for me is that of simplicity and that of what it means to just move through life in general without such, preconceptions or some lofty goals in mind. It's just about living life and just kind of going with the flow, kind of a hipster, um, a hippie like mentality that the film has. Um, and again, also very simplistic in design. Now, it's funny how this film still ranks at the top for me because, there's other movies that have, that could easily fit that spot. 2001: A Space Odyssey, I absolutely love. The Shining, I love. Blade Runner, we just talked about on this channel, I adore. Um, and quality wise, I will admit maybe those movies might be better. Um, but Forrest Gump has always found its place in my heart for many reasons. I believe that the performance by Tom Hanks is easily the best of his, and also I think just stacks up as one of the best ever. He is the deadpan and just the characterization. It's so rich in detail and so expressive. Like there's so much to Forrest Gump as a character. Like you love, I like when I see the character, I'm not annoyed, because it has the potential to come off as like offensive. Like I could see it, and there are people that would deem it so, because of like people add stuff onto the character that I think is a little bit unwarranted because of how much of because the movie never sheds a light on that. There's accusations that Forrest Gump potentially is autistic, and um, I mean, you could look at it that way, I guess. I mean, by putting it in today's standards and perhaps with more awareness to autism. I'm not sure how much autism was a thing in the '90s, um, but I think that also like again puts a little bit of a preconception, a bit of a certain lens to Forrest that the movie is not utilizing, uh, and kind of giving a certain impression about Forrest that's just, again, in my opinion, not warranted. Because the word for Forrest is simple. It's the perfect word for Forrest. He's just a simple guy living through life, and that's the whole point of the film is about living through life within that simple like mentality. Don't just take things here and there and this and that. Just allow it and just move through life, and move as you please, But don't have these like all these like just keep walking, keep moving through. And Forrest Gump like like as a character completely represents that. Um, and he's very sweet. He's extremely charming, both by just writing and by the performance that Tom Hanks is bringing forth. The the accent or just the accent is very specific and it works. It could have came off as again like kind of perhaps maybe stereotypical or just strange in its overall delivery, but when you settle into that character and its presence, you are immediately won over, and it's just so delightful and so charming. Um, and using those same words, I would also say the same for the rest of the cast. Robin Wright is amazing in this. Gary Sinise is great in it. Sally Field uh, made me tear up in her specific moments, especially in the moment where, the most famous line from Forrest Gump: "Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get." Where you come to that moment of where you you hear, uh, you because you hear that line at the beginning from Forrest before he recounts his life story. He uh, you learn where that phrase comes from Sally Field, his mother. It's pretty heartbreaking when that scene arrives. It's you know and just in general, the movie is extremely heartbreaking. It is so emotional. I cry every time watching this movie. Um, for one, because of Alan Silvestri, his score is just incredible. It is the one of the most emotional scores I've ever heard, and it still gets me. Just listening to the score tears me up. The theme, the the I believe it's yeah, the violin. Uh, it's it just hits me so deeply. Um, I think that um, the love between Forrest and Jenny is so real. Again, I feel it. I'm so involved in it. Um, and I just love the simplicity of it. Like, it's so weird for me because usually something so standard I usually take so much criticism with because I just don't. I like movies that move me, that enthrall me, that have me invested in a way that where the material has to be deeper, you know. I like when a movie can be standard, but ultimately a lot of the time, especially considering nowadays, the craft has to be deeper. It can't just be on the surface. Forrest Gump is the exception to that, where it is a standard story. It is a story that once you see it, once you get a whiff of it, that's pretty much what is there. It is about just a man living his life. It's about, about living a simple like nature, and life is life. Life is like a box of chocolates. You're never know what you're gonna get. That is essentially the bare bones of Forrest Gump, which might be the one flaw to the movie for me is the fact that it does hang on that surface. But the just the commitment to that idea, the showcase of that idea through this incredible performance from Tom Hanks, through the just this beautiful ensemble, the score, almost the majesty of that score, um, the 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 writing, the directing, the by the way, some really revolutionary VFX. I mean, some of the visuals in that movie are still hold up today, especially that scene with I think it was JFK. I think it was, yeah. But incredible like visual work in this movie, by the way. Um, like this movie has always stuck with me. When I first saw it, it was the movie like that just moved me. It was the first movie that really moved me, you know? And I've yet to find, I mean, I've found movies that have moved me in different ways, like just an awe factor, where I like 2001, where I watched that and I was just in awe with it, or in The Shining, where I was just just blown away by the craft, by the filmmaking. Um, Forrest Gump is a movie that always hits me to my core, always hits me to my heart, and I can never escape that feeling every time watching it. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It could come from Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks, my God, my favorite, one of my favorite scenes of the movie. It's such a subtle moment, but it also kind of redefines the character after that point, because again, it's about that man living that simple life, but it's not that he's also stupid, because that's the thing about Forrest Gump that people get wrong, is that he's not a stupid character, because that's that preconception. Again, I think that that's something to do with that whole autism conversation that has attached to Forrest Gump, which is sad, because Forrest Gump is not a stupid character. The moment that confirms that he's not a dumb character is when he meets his son for the very first time. From when he goes to Jenny's house after all that time passes, and after he recounts his whole story, you you have that moment where he looks at Jenny and he just mouths. He's like, is he like, you know, he's referring to himself. He's self-aware. He knows that he's not he's not bearing a heavy level of intelligence, but he's self-aware. He understands. He's not all about himself. He's not, like this and that. He knows. He knows his own strengths. He knows his own character, and he accepts himself. But he also understands the flaw within his own nature. You know, they're potentially the flaw within his own nature, and he still is looking out, for, like when he sees that his son, he has that moment of that he had with Jenny where he's in love, but he also sees that he also, he's able to recognize things right away. It's not just about, oh, look, I have a son. He immediately is in dad mode, wanting to protect his son and hoping that the things about him that he is aware to, whether it being autism or not, whatever it is, he just doesn't want that for his son. He's not projecting onto his son or anything like that. Like that moment just completely defines the character, where it's a man who is simple in nature. That's what he is. Okay, because I don't think that he's autistic. I think I think that's painting the characters in a certain way, and I just don't think that works well for the character, and it doesn't work well for the entire movie, because the whole point of this film is about living life without any judgment, without any of that sort of thing. Philosophically, I would disagree to that, but the the way that commits to that point is filled with emotion, filled with passion, filled with just with like just it has so many great qualities going for it on a technical level, on a performance level, from a narrative level, the way that the narrative is constructed. It all binds together to create something just magnificent. And every time watching it, I cannot just, I always cry. I always cry watching this movie because it hits on a personal level for me. And, um, like, I hate that the conversation about Forrest Gump is about his condition. He has no condition. That there really is no condition to his character. If there was a condition to his character, the movie would have made a point to, would have brought that up, and they don't. They just tell you that he's not as smart. He's not Albert Einstein. Essentially, he's just an average guy. You know, I like yes IQ, yes, like he's not, yeah, he's not incredibly smart. You know, but does intelligence, like actual intelligence, like, you know what I mean, like, do you have to be Albert Einstein in order to be considered normal? I think the movie ultimately kind of wrestles with that question. It's like, can't do you have to be Albert Einstein in this world? Do you have to be so big and so wise and so all-knowing and so logical, like this and that? Or do you just kind of just move with the wind? Do you kind of just let yourself just go through life and just explore and see what happens and observe and, perhaps take notes, you know, or perhaps just, just watch? Because that's also what Forrest Gump is as a character. He's an observer. He never really partakes in things unless, like, someone asks him to. He just kind of just watches a lot of the time, you know. So yeah, I can go on about this movie. I adore it. I love it to death. They were close to doing a sequel, which that would have been just dumb. I don't know why you would do a sequel to this. It's perfect as it is. Um, I forget what it was. I think it was based on another novel because this movie's based off a novel based off of Forrest Gump, just called Forrest Gump. Um, there was a sequel novel that they were going to adapt. Um, Let me see if I could find it here. If they had it, yeah, it was called Gump and Company. And Eric Roth actually had written the screenplay in 2001, but then when 9/11 happened, they decided to not move forward with that story because if they were going to do a sequel to Forrest Gump, they would have to play with that same sort of mechanic with going through a certain period of life. So I understand why they would not want to touch on 9/11. So I get it. Um, so um, yeah. So I mean, just I adore it, man. I adore this movie. There's apparently an Indian remake as well. Oh yeah, I remember hearing about the Indian remake. Um, which please Hollywood, I know you're in the business of remaking shit. My heart will probably be broken in a few years, but please don't remake this. I know that that's probably something that's gonna happen just because Hollywood's Hollywood, but please don't do it. Please don't. This is a beautiful movie. This movie touches me so deeply. I would hate. I would hate. I will tell you this. The offensive things that people may find in this movie would be amplified if they remake it. The remake would be offensive. I would say it right now. I think the remake would be offensive because they wouldn't know how to deal with the subject matter. They wouldn't know how to represent the character properly because this does it in a delicate way to where I find it so simplistic and yet just so rich, in emotion. Um, so I think the remake would just tarnish this. So just don't touch it, please. Please don't. Um, they probably will, but what can you do? But but yes, this movie is amazing. I absolutely adore this movie. If you have not seen it, what the fuck? Watch it. It is an amazing film. Um, I know there's a lot of people who will probably say it's okay. There's a lot of people who might say this and that about it. I'm telling you, it is the best thing I've ever seen. Um, and it just touches me in a way that no other film ever has done. And it still does this very day. The score alone, the performance alone from Tom Hanks, there's so many great moments. The character itself is one of the best written ever. Um, just like the commitment to that character, um, the representation of that character, the representation of the themes, even if those themes are standard and that it does hang on the surface throughout the entire runtime, you're just engulfed. You're just engulfed in that nature. Um, I just, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I cannot say enough. And it's just so fucking good. So, yeah, man. Yeah, I go back to this movie every so often in my life. Like, I've watched this first when I was a little boy, like maybe 10 years old. Now I'm 22, going on 23. Um, yeah, I love this movie so much. I revisit it every so often, and I just bawl, bawl real hard. So. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on Forrest Gump, my favorite movie of all time. Nothing has touched this. Nothing has come close to this. It is just chef's kiss. So so yeah, so this being Blind Tuesdays, let's go to the wheel here and let's see what we got here. So I'm gonna spin the wheel now, and we're gonna see what next week is gonna offer. So here we go. So next week for Blind Tuesdays, it's going to be a... Oh, wow, that was so close. Alrighty. So it is going to be a film from the 2000s. We almost got the looks bad category, which means we would have watched a really bad movie, or something that looked bad. Um, but we got 2000s. Cool. Okay. So we went from the 90s and now we're going to the 2000s. So there you go. So pretty consistent like for the next 2 weeks on Blind Tuesdays. But you guys let me know your picks for 2000s in the comment section below. So not genre specific, just has to be a film from the 2000s. So just let me know your picks in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on Forrest Gump if you guys love it as much as I do. Or if you guys have your issues, let me know. Just would love to hear your thoughts, especially about the whole autism thing. I mean, does it seem like there's validity? Let me know. I mean, if there's any merit to that argument. I don't personally see it. I can see where you're coming from, but it doesn't work to the film's benefit, and it just would diminish it. And I think that that's also not taking into account really what the movie's trying to do. You know, it's not about his condition. It's just about his whole morality, his whole living through life, his view of that and how he wishes to move through it, which is just to be. So, but you guys want to know your thoughts about Forrest Gump, everything Forrest Gump, from the score, the performances, the whole conversation surrounding his whole, condition, if there is any. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it from me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.